The year is 2012 and my family bought me an Xbox 360. And the first game that they got us was NBA 2K13. And even though I didn't notice at the time, this game would low-key shape my whole music taste. And that's obviously because of the soundtrack, which is apparently mostly created by Hov. How much of a role Jay-Z played in making this soundtrack, I don't know. But it was apparent that he was involved from the beginning. Public service announcement blasting from the jump. So technically this is my first real introduction into Jay-Z. For reference, Jay-Z is my 4th most listened to artist of all time, at least on Spotify. And looking at the soundtrack, it is a good soundtrack for someone looking to get into hip hop. Starting off with Jay-Z, there's a song going back to Blueprint 2 with the bounce. That song features a young Kanye West, which would be one of the standouts of this soundtrack. This was also how I began to know who Kanye West was. I didn't know a lot of English at this time, but still, the songs here were amazing to me, especially the song Amazing. If you ask like 9-year-old me what he remembered about the 2K13 soundtrack, one of the songs that he would bring up was Mercy. It's prime time, my top back, this pimp game. Just because to me it was such a mind fuck whatever was going on with this part. Crazy times, honestly. But moving on to another song, We Major is a song that I forgot even existed back in the day. We major? Come on, homie, we major. I remember rediscovering Kanye and kind of re-listening through his whole discography and listening to Late Registration and finding out that this song is from Kanye was crazy. That song, of course, features Nas. Probably what was my favorite song was The World Is Yours. It started trending on TikTok again last year and I was really happy to see that because personally that piano instrumental to me was very cool. And honestly, this soundtrack might be part of the reason why I'm always into older hip hop rather than the current stuff. One of the songs that stand out in the soundtrack even right now is Shook Ones. But anyways, going back to the soundtrack, I find it crazy to believe that even though I wasn't very cultured in hip hop, I knew that Eric B and Rakim were like old guys. I ain't no joke. I used to let the mic smoke. I just wasn't a big fan of hip hop, so I wonder what made 8 and 9-year-old me think like, yeah, that's old hip hop, of course. Anyways, this is getting too repetitive. Let me talk about the things that aren't hip hop on the soundtrack. Bro, this Coldplay song for like 4 years, I might have thought that shit was the greatest song to ever be. Viva La Vida is a great song, and if I wanted to, I would check out that whole album. But personally, I don't got time for Coldplay. I got time for this song though. I still don't know what the lyrics are on though. I ain't gonna lie. But anyways, shout out to Hov, because in terms of getting into indie pop / alt rock, whatever you want to call it, 1901 was a very special track in my mind. I'm not the biggest fan of Phoenix just because I haven't heard all of their songs, but there's a couple of songs here and there that I like. And it was through listening to them and listening to those type of songs that I found MGMT. For a few years, MGMT to me was just a producer, some Pursuit of Happiness, to be honest with you. But yeah, my whole journey into getting into indie pop made me realize that like, that shit is kind of hard. I ain't gonna lie. Getting into that all indie pop type shit, it's kind of hard if you don't know like where to look for. So shout out to my friend for putting me on to Claro. I'm clapping, by the way. Yeah. With my hands. Also, Jay-Z put me on to Daft Punk real quick. Just in time too, cause like just like a year later, Daft Punk was with Pharrell on the radio station, and I was like, yo, I know those motherfuckers. But overall, the 2K13 soundtrack was just the beginning of me falling in love with the 2K games. I know that sounds unfortunate now, but back in the day, 2K was that game. For example, the following year in 2K14, a track like All of the Lights was crazy. And little did I know that it would feature a rapper that would go on to become my favorite artist of all time. Also in the soundtrack for 2K14 was a song that I didn't really care for, at least enough to look for who was the artist. And like 7 years later, I realized that it was Kendrick Lamar. So high, I can touch the So it's just amazing to me going back and seeing all these songs or all these rappers, artists that I knew about and didn't know that I know about. And if you're wondering why I made this video, because I just hit 2,000 subscribers, so I thought, you know what, easy video to make. But anyways, yeah, that's the video, and shout out to J Dilla.